take him down! Goddamn army of these bastards! How much is...
Red Dead Redemption 2 is an open-world semi-realistic and one of the most immersive experiences in gaming. At times I would rather call RDR2 a simulation instead of a game. There are objectives, but not real quests, just things you have to do, work and live your life, interacting with everything in the world, which being a pleasure and a must. Start of the game got me worried, and for the first 4 hours, it was not impressing me too much. But then it hit me and I learned how the game is meant to be played, not as a game, but as a life. And what I first thought of being an 7 out of 10 game, turned into 10 out of 10. Going to get this out of the way, I love horses in this game. I love how they live in the wild and how you bond with them. Brushing, feeding and tending your horse is so satisfying because it follows you everywhere. Literally, you will love it, and if something happens to it, someone will pay. It's not just a ride, but a friend who carries your extra clothes and items for you.
Oh, you're making a huge mistake!
World design is best I've ever seen. It has everything that it needs to have to make it feel like a time machine. It feels so real that it is hard to grasp what you are supposed to do the first times you start playing. Game just goes on seamlessly like life does. From what I'm familiar with US history, the game presents itself accurately. Your actions matter, and if you act like an ass, be prepared for the world to hear about it. If there were any witnesses, that is. Every time you do something it feels like you are actually shaping the future of your gang. Of course there is the story, which is sad and honest, pun intended, of criminal gangs and as their era is coming to an end. Before we delve into the story aspects and how it moves the game world onwards, let's talk about activities, or living in the world. Hunting, which is more realistic than ever. Animal Eye is just out of this world. How a deer reacts to being looked through a scope is just heartbreaking. Playing and collecting cards, just walking to an NPC and talking to them or robbing them with actual robbing mechanisms. The gang's camp is full of characters which you keep fed and they keep you fed, exploring various areas and their people, encountering the random NPC who will remember you if they survive. For example, one whom I saved, later met me in a city and purchased me a gun on his tab. You can even go and rob a train on your spare time, but better be prepared or well planned for it. There is just no limit to what you can do and how you can act. Be a good bad guy or just a horrible bad guy. Might even be some possibilities of being a good guy. Gathering loot and money for the gang is one of your main money holes, and then you can buy or sell everything in the game. Customize your weapons and clothes to fit your style and hear the people cherish them. About multiplayer there isn't yet anything to be said, and in games like this I'm always more about single player experience. Controls are the only thing that isn't as smooth as I'd like them to be. Sometimes the amount of fine animations and wide variety of inventories cause some gameplay issues. For example, there are multiple ways to shoot in person and one of them is in middle of conversation. This might cause an accidental murder if something happens fast due to the sheer amount of controls. When I play this as large sessions like 3 to 10 hours, you get so used to using all the mechanics and what is fastest way in current state to shoot, talk or mount that it isn't a problem. Game takes also a very long time until it stops at hand holding, although the hand holding is very weak in this game and at the start you almost feel like you are falling already from the grasp. That is why I don't know if I even can say that there is a tutorial of any sort. Again, it's like life, you just go and learn, and pay for your mistakes. I briefly mentioned already the animal eye, but with words I can't do it justice, and same goes for human eye. Everything acts in the way that they cause real emotion in you as you don't see them as just a machine anymore. In real life I work closely with law enforcement and have to see all kind of people, sometimes even get my hands dirty in knife and gun fights in the very worst cases. This game captures that feeling of trying to disarm the situation or just going to the situation with the mindset that this has to stop now. It exhilarates in a way other games have not caused me to react. This also makes me think in many times if it's better for the people to die than live their miserable lives in the swamps. For example, I once entered with intent to rob an empty looking house, For my surprise, there was an alcoholist father beating his son. I tried to disarm the situation, but considering the time it takes places it in seconds, turned out that the man got shot. The son being a wreck, begging for his life, and I looked around the house, being sure that he would end up as a slave child. I eliminated him with sorrow and pity, for the poor digital eye life he would have at that time period. Again, I can't do justice for the eye in the game or the presentation of the living creatures in the world. Graphics are among the best PS4 has to offer. There are games that look different but not worse. Horizon Zero Dawn, for example. Animations and audio sell the world to be alive, as it seems there are hundreds of tiny animations to bring everyone alive in the world. Forest is full of noises and cues of animals living in there, and if a shot is fired you hear the birds and animals scattering, as the shot echoes through. Here's a little about the story and its elements. I don't consider these spoilers, but you are warned. As a gang member, Arthur, you just want to live your life free from the more civilized world. It's changing to a world you and your gang don't want to be a part of. Law isn't the only problem. As cities evolve and your kind are frowned upon, you try to hang into the life of an outlaw by robbing with your friends and then fighting the law. Was it by freeing gang members or killing the enforcers and guards? Other gangs cause problems as they are more populated, but with nameless boys and men. You are set up in a forest camp and hiding from the law, heading slowly to south. Story progresses as you upgrade your camp and hang out with your gang members, raising hell or building up plans to do so, just to get money and be able to live your life without doing real work.
I feel like the luckiest man alive, and I feel like a fool. That woman confuses me and plays me for a fiddle like no one else alive.